Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is 7 awesome things about Aries. In my last video talking about the astrological sign of Aries, I was looking at the shadow side of things. I called it sketchy. But this is going to be the wonderful things that Aries brings to the table and how they influence others as well. Number 1, full of energy. And this energy rubs off on the rest of us. So if you've ever been in the presence of somebody with a strong Aries temperament, and this could be their sun sign. Now, I did not specify that this has to be the sun sign. You can have somebody that's even like a Virgo who has Aries rising, and they will give off a similar type of energy, at least when they're around other people. And this can make you feel like you can do anything when you're around such a person because they are very energetic. Well, that's what being full of energy is, right? But I mean, they're just enthusiastic about life, and their enthusiasm is infectious and causes other people to start being influenced in a positive way, and they can really get other people to do things that maybe they wouldn't normally do. So that kind of influence can be quite powerful. Number 2 is that they are very straightforward. What you see is what you get. And this is something that I really admire about people with a prominent Aries, is that they're very up front and center about who they are. There's an authenticity and a freshness that comes from being the first sign of the zodiac and being a fire sign as well. You know, there's it's almost like a childlike sense of wonder and innocence, and that also applies to their basic demeanor, so that they don't have that mask. And I had just mentioned Aries rising. The rising sign is the mask. And yet with Aries on the ascendant, the person can really seem believable, genuine, and like they aren't putting on an act, okay? And I think a lot of us appreciate that, because there are some people that come across as phony, as affected, and therefore they're insincere. There's a sense that they're really hiding something, that they're not really honest about how they really are in real life, and that you're just getting this facade. And I think also with a prominent Aries, the person seems trustworthy. Now, you could say sometimes that it's honest on the verge of being blunt. In some cases, it will be excruciatingly blunt. But I have always been of the mindset that I would rather know where somebody is coming from than to always kind of wonder if they're really being authentic, if they really mean what they say, or if they're just saying something because they think I want to hear it. Number 3, positive, a can-do spirit. And this is very important because I think that some people have a basic learned helplessness in their mentality, the way that they view life, and this causes them to have a rather negative mindset overall. And with Aries, there's a certain resourcefulness. You know, I think about the Magician card in the Tarot, and it's kind of interesting because I consider myself more of an astrologer than a tarot reader, just because I've studied astrology so much longer. But the truth is that now I'm starting to really make those connections between astrology and the tarot. And when it comes to the Magician card isn't actually connected to Aries. It's connected to the planet Mercury, so it'd be more like Gemini. But you know what? It really does have that strong Aries feel to me because it's number one, and Aries is the first house. And Aries people are very independent, and actually, I guess I'll just go into that one because that was one of the list of awesome things that I put down here. But talking about resourcefulness, the idea that we have the ability to do things on our own, that we don't always have to lean on others, and that we can make do with what we have and even succeed with these things, that we don't have to always have a lot of money to do things, a lot of power. And Aries people are very much of the belief that they can achieve things. And wherever they are, whatever station in life, an Aries person can make those strong beginnings and then achieve their goals. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you're positive and when you have a can-do spirit, you're not going to say, well, I can't launch this business. I don't have X amount of money, or I don't have the clout, or I don't have the assistance, I don't have the help. They're willing to start where they are with what they have. That's what I mean by resourcefulness. And they know that they can always build on it later. And so I'm just going to go right into independence because that is an important trait as well. I mean, it's something that is a positive trait, and it kind of connects to that positivity being, the one of the traits of Aries, the independence of Aries. Now, this can manifest, like I just said, where they are willing to do things on their own without somebody holding their hand. But on the other hand, talking about hands, there's also that sense in relationships where an Aries person isn't going to be clingy. They're going to give you your space. Now, they demand their space as well, but this can be refreshing if you're the kind of person who is used to being with somebody who smothers you, who always wants you to account for your actions, and, things like that feel very oppressive. That's the best word I can use. Aries people, they're easily amused on their own, and they don't require that other people always be at their side. Now, of course, Aries wants you in their life in a major way, but they do have their independent streak, as all fire signs do, as well as air signs. So if that's something that you enjoy in a partner, you're going to get that in Aries. So that was number 6. I skipped from number 3 to number 6. Number 4 is forward thinking. Aries people tend to always be thinking ahead, and as a result, this can be very good if they experience any setbacks. They're not going to wallow in their misery for very long. Aries is always, because they're positive thinking, see, these things are interconnected, because that positivity allows them to brush off any sense that they have failed at something and think ahead to further victories, and also not live in the past. And you have a sign, let's say like Cancer, who tends to brood about their imagined slights and failures, and they may get stuck in those things. And even like the fixed signs like Taurus, or Scorpio, because it's a water sign particularly, fixed signs can sometimes get mired in whatever the emotion is. If it's a negative, well, if it's mired, it's going to be negative. And that negativity, it can be kind of quicksand. So the wonderful thing about Aries is that they bounce back very quickly from defeat because they are very positive in their mindset and very forward thinking. Number 5, Aries people are catalysts. So, and this can also apply for Mars in Aries and the Sun in Aries, of course. And they tend to, because Aries is a cardinal sign, they are associated with being self-starters, and that's that independence, but also being people or signs that like to begin projects or initiate things. So all of the cardinal signs, and so in addition to Aries, we're talking about Libra, we're talking about Cancer, and we're talking about Capricorn. These are signs that are associated with being catalysts and, taking action. And because of this, and because Aries is also a fire sign, they're very enthusiastic about their new projects. And again, that can be very infectious. And the rest of us, if we're working with an Aries person, it can be a joyous experience because they're not dragging their feet. They're very into that process. Now, if you're working with an Aries person and you are another sign, like let's say you're an earth sign, you are the great cleanup man or woman, because you're going to, like, let's say you're a Virgo. Virgos and Aries can work great together because the Aries person can be the idea person, the initiator, and the Virgo person can be like the office manager who is kind of picking up the slack and cleaning up all the details that the Aries person misses. And, Aries people aren't necessarily the closers. They tend to lose interest in projects after it becomes more routine. And so they move on to the next thing. And if they have a good partner or a good crew that are filled with, for instance, earth signs particularly, or fixed signs, like, if it has to be another fire sign, maybe a Leo, because Leo is a fixed sign and can, enjoy that continuity, then that's a perfect fit. So I've already done number 6, which is independent, and number 7 is brave. Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. And Aries people tend to like living on the edge. So if somebody, I didn't mention this, but even if you have Aries at your midheaven point, which is the cusp of the 10th house of career, this can indicate the kind of career that an Aries person wants. Now, the obvious go-to would be in the military, because that puts them in places that could be dangerous. And that's a definite possibility that a person with a prominent Aries is at least at one point in the military, or a police officer, or even a what's the gender neutral version of fireman? Fire person? Firefighter. Okay, firefighter. But yeah, I mean, a firefighter, I guess that would even be above a cop. But anything like that, an EMT, like an ambulance driver, but an EMT is somebody who also is, what do they call those, paramedic, somebody who's there at the scene of an accident. And it can be a life or death situation, and they have to act, they have to have quick reactions. There's another word for that. They have to quick reflexes, maybe. And then if you want to look at other professions, you might have someone who is, if they are a doctor, they might gravitate towards the emergency room, where it is life and death, and it's a sense of excitement, but also a lot of adrenaline, Well, I guess that would, excitement produces adrenaline. But the point is that there's something that is kind of like on the edge. And that can be maybe even like in the circus as a tightrope walker or doing acrobatics. So that can be something that where you see somebody with a prominent Aries that they are doing something that saves lives. And they are heroes as a result. And sometimes other people will not do those jobs because they don't have that sense of bravery. The Aries person is naturally very impetuous. They do things sometimes without thinking, you know, with haste. And they get accused of being too hasty as a result. But the flip side of that is that when you just rush in with the intention of helping another person, like you see a car accident and the car is burst into flames and you don't even think twice about it and you run into that burning situation and you yank somebody out of their car right before the car totally explodes. I guess I don't know if the car would be engulfed in flames at that point, but whatever, you get my drift. Then that is the positive angle of that. That is a positive side. That somebody is just, they have like a pure motive where it's not about their glory, it's just about helping others, but in a dangerous situation. So that's what we call bravery, isn't it? Okay, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you like this type of analysis, this is what I do with a lot of my astrological readings. So please check out my website if that interests you. The link is below. Take care. Bye.